This is a live presentation of the Titan Upload Network. The Power Hour is on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. We are part of the Titan Upload Network. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm knocking off the cobwebs. It's great to see everybody in the show. You're doing fantastic today, and guys, we're just having all kinds of bugs. It's probably where I've been off last week, and I haven't really tested the system, so hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully everything will go well, so sorry for any inconvenience. Hopefully we'll get the show rolling the way it needs to go. But first, of course, and always, we got to introduce our special guest tonight. Joining us from the Jump Pass podcast, it's our good friend Ryan Harris. And Ryan, welcome to the Power Hour.
Hey, thank you. What's going on, Mike? How you doing today?
I'd be doing better if I knew what's going on with our software, man. It just seems like it's just getting all glitchy, and I guess it's just where I get the week off. It figures you just got to get it. You got to get its legs stretched, otherwise, you just don't want to do what you want to do. So hopefully, we just work out all the glitches. And
I guess the system is still on a bye week. You know, the Titans had a 1 week bye week. We had a 1 week bye week, and the system is trying to get a second bye week going. So
apparently, it's trying to, but this just isn't going to happen. We got to get this thing rolling. So no excuses today. Just like our Tennessee Titans handling business against the Indianapolis Colts. So everybody, it is definitely great to see everybody in the show. And of course, we got to start out. It's Victory Monday, so happy days. Good times. And really, a lot of things we liked, a lot of things that definitely going to need to continue to be worked, but it's good to have the Colts in the rearview mirror. And Ryan, it's definitely reassuring, especially knowing that the Titans won't have to play them again this season. And really, it's only going to come down to at least 4 division games to try and lock up our division.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a big victory to sweep the Colts. Now, basically, you got 3 divisional games left. You got 2 against Houston, and then you got 4 divisional games left. I'm sorry, 2 against Houston and 2 against Jacksonville. So now you're in a situation where you kind of control your own destiny. You control your own destiny for winning the division. You're up in the division, and you just got to continue to win games that are winnable. And that's what the Titans have been doing over the last, 4 weeks. They won 4 games, and, they won 4 games in a row. And they're all against, opponents that are, let's just be honest, they're not very good opponents. At the same time, you beat the teams that are in front of you. And that's exactly what the Titans have done so far. So hopefully they can keep that streak going, because, the schedule is going to get tougher. So the more wins that they can, they can come up, more wins they can get on a week-to-week basis against teams that are very winnable, the better they can put themselves in the AFC South.
And we'll definitely break down that a little bit more. But we've got a lot of top news to break down. So, Ryan, let's not waste a minute. And, guys, I'm sorry about the sound. I'm going to try and do whatever I can to try and make this a little bit better. So my apologies if it does sound like it is on a 78 sound record player, Al. So believe me, I'm trying to do whatever I can to make this better. So sorry, guys. We'll do what we can. It's just not working out the way I want it to, but we'll continue to see if we can get this on the right foot. But we'll just break down our top news as we get to it. All right, so getting to it, guys. Right now at this moment, we know going forward that there's going to be a lot of discussion, especially with the trade deadline coming down. But one interesting piece that I would like to talk about, and I think's extremely interesting by the fact that we see, basically 2 of the best quarterbacks in the league, of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, basically just not playing at the level that we're used to seeing them play. So, Ryan, really, what's the problem here? Is it a situation of just age is catching up to them, or is it just different situations for each quarterback?
I think it's different situations for each quarterback, but age does play a factor. I mean, if you look at Aaron Rodgers, he just doesn't have he don't have a number 1 receiver. I've noticed in the last few games where they just look very stagnant on offense. And, Aaron Rodgers is used to throwing it to Devontae Adams when things are, against, when his back is against the wall, he will go to number 17. Now, you traded him, he's now in Las Vegas. Basically, now you got a bunch of unproven receivers. Lazard is decent, but, he hasn't developed that trust with Aaron Rodgers yet. You got Sammy Watkins, who always stays hurt. So then you got a bunch of, rookies and second-year players on the team that haven't gained Aaron Rodgers' trust enough to be able to, execute on the offensive side of the field. The Packers defense has always been pretty shaky. So, it's just the offense now is taking a step back along with the defense, not performing the way they used to not, basically they're underperforming on the defensive end. Now they underperform on the offensive end, and now you got a struggling football team. For the Bucks concern though, really it just Brady's issue really is what's surrounding him, and I'm not talking about the receiving threat. It's basically the guys that's supposed to protect him. They had offensive line issues really from basically the offseason with guys retiring and leaving and things of that nature. And then in the preseason, they had some injuries. In training camp, you had Ryan Jensen. He got hurt. That was a big loss. And then they had another guy that got hurt in the Titans Bucks game who was supposed to be a starter too. So when your offensive line is struggling, you got a quarterback who is not very athletic, and he's basically a statue in the pocket. That's a big issue. It doesn't help that your receivers are not, performing at the level that they're supposed to either. Not getting open, and when they do get open, they're not holding on to the ball when the ball is getting thrown to them.
And it's a great situation that you basically bring up. Rodgers continues to struggle, especially with these younger kids, and it just seems like he's trying to find an established veteran that could actually help just get him over the hump. With the loss of Devontae Adams, you think that they have to try and find a situation that he's more comfortable with a player more of his stature and experience. So with the trade deadline looming, is there a potential receiver out there that you think would fit along with Rodgers?
Well, you got a couple of wide receivers that I've been hearing about. The first name, of course, has been DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers. I'm not sure what's the asking price for him, but that's one name you can think of. He's a guy that's very reliable. He's been 1,100 yard receiver for the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years. So that could be a good fit for Aaron Rodgers. Another guy you can think of that you've been hearing about is Chase Claypool, a big body receiver, kind of has the physique of Devontae Adams. Of course, he doesn't have the talent like Devontae Adams, but he's a guy that, maybe would have changed the scenery, maybe with a better quarterback situation. Maybe he can perform at that level that he was performing in his rookie year when, Ben was somewhat relevant as a quarterback. But, those are the two names that I'm thinking of. It may be some other names that I'm missing, but those are the two names that I've been seeing a lot over the last couple of weeks in regards to DJ Moore and Chase Claypool.
And with Tom Brady, it's a completely different situation, especially going through his personal life. There's a lot to just unpack there, and it just seems like that's a huge distraction, especially I understand what he's going through, have gone through that myself. But that situation aside, it just definitely looks like there's just not a lot of urgency on his side. It feels there's just inconsistency. We could point to a number of things, but really for Tom Brady, is age finally just catching up to him, or is it just a slew of the other problems that seem to be holding him down?
It could be a combination of both. I think, of course, at one point, age is going to have to catch up to you. Father time is undefeated for a reason. Sometimes it just takes, longer for others to dwindle from a talent standpoint. And, for Brady, it's just a combination of, like I said, the offensive line is not helping him out by blocking. And, Also, too, you got to give credit to the teams that been competing. They've been competing with Tampa Bay. You know, you got to give Atlanta credit. This past Sunday, you got to give Carolina credit, even though Carolina is going on this, quote unquote fire sale on offense. They didn't go on a fire sale on defense. Their defense is still there, and their defense is really talented. So I think to me, it's just a combination of age and just basically the talent, not from the receiver standpoint, but from the O-line standpoint, not performing the way that a Tom Brady-led offense usually performs. And then also, too, we got to look at the defense on Tampa Bay, too. Tampa Bay used to have one of the best run defenses in football. And lately, they've been getting shredded by the running game. And, they got shredded almost 200 yards by a team that just traded Christian McCaffrey. Dante Foreman and Chuba Hubbard, combined for like a 180 plus yards against their defense, and a defense that's usually pretty good against the run, or used to be pretty good against the run. So it's just a combination of a whole lot of factors that's hurting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. But the good news for the Bucs is they're still in first place. They're still in first place somehow because everybody in that division is under 500. So it's a bad division, and all the problems they have are somewhat fixable.
That's a great point that you make. I mean, really, both situations seem fixable, but I guess the biggest question I have to ask, which one seems more likely to get fixed down the road?
I would say Tampa Bay, simply because unless Green Bay gets a receiver, I think, with Randall Cobb, I forgot to mention that Randall Cobb being hurt, that's another safety net that's gone for Aaron Rodgers now. I would say Tampa Bay simply because they got the receivers. They still got Evans. They still got Godwin. They still got Fournette in the backfield. They just have to. They just basically have to play better. They just have to sustain drives on offense. And their defense, with Todd Bowles as the head coach and as the defensive minded, the defensive minded head coach, I feel like he'll, fix that defense and get it to where it was prior to this losing streak they've been on this season. But with the Packers, I think it's the situation of, can they get a receiver? Can they give Rodgers some help in receiver? Because really, unless they change their whole philosophy and become more of a running team, which I think they should, because they got two really solid running backs, unless they change their philosophy and become more of a balanced attack, run the football a little bit more, the Packers going to be in a little bit of trouble, especially with Minnesota getting out to the start that they have gotten, being 5-1, had the bye week, I believe, this past Sunday. So I think Tampa Bay looks a little bit more in tune to getting their stuff together as opposed to Green Bay.
But Tampa Bay definitely will be tested, especially the next three games, with Thursday Night Football, with them playing the Ravens at home, then the Rams at home, and it looks like they'll also have the Seahawks at home. So, tough schedule indeed, but both teams definitely have their own issues. Which one will be fixed is going to be the biggest question going forward. But of course, moving forward with our next story, and to me, this is the interesting part of it. I feel that the Carolina Panthers could really hold on to some guys if they wanted to. But one of the key pieces right now that everybody seems to be acquiring is basically Brian Burns. And there's no doubt any team that's short of a pass rusher is definitely looking for somebody that can get them over that hump. So it's already been reported as of yesterday that Burns was actually scouted and potentially even offered 2 potential first-round picks, which was what was said. So, Brian, was this really an offer, or is this just Carolina potentially just kind of throwing some news out there to see if anybody bites on it?
I can definitely see it being both. I can think of maybe a team that's desperate enough on defense to offer, 2 first-round draft picks. Maybe a team that's thinking that they can contend for a Super Bowl now. But then at the same time, you could look at Carolina as using this as bait, as trade bait, to see what teams are, what they're actually offering. And then at the end of the day, I don't know if this is just all just hearsay at this point. Looks like to me they're just trying to rebuild on offense, kind of leave the defense alone, which will be a really good strategy. I mean, it's not like, this Carolina is a bad team in regards to their roster. Their roster is okay. It's not, the defense has never been the issue. It's always been the offense. So, I mean, at the same time, you never know. The NFL can be quite unpredictable. So, I didn't see Christian McCaffrey getting traded to San Francisco. So it could be a situation where Burns could go, to a title contender, and they give, that title contender can give Carolina a slew of draft picks.
And as of right now, his stats would be 18 tackles and 5 sacks right now, which would tie him with 13th in the league. So as of right now, we're definitely hearing potential suitors, including the Vikings, the Eagles, and maybe even the Rams have been kicking the tires. So which of the potential teams listed do you think is actually the better fit, or do you have one that might be even better than those?
Well, I mean, if he goes to the Eagles, it's basically the rich getting richer. I mean, because they pretty stacked up front. You got Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham, and they already pretty stacked up front. So getting Burns is just going to add. It's kind of the rich getting richer kind of a thing. I think going to the Rams makes a lot of sense in regards to they never really replaced Von Miller's production. So that could be a guy that can be not necessarily Von Miller from a production standpoint, but close enough, right? So, if you look at that, you get a guy that you get 2 pass rushers with him and Leonard Floyd, and then you have Aaron Donald in the middle. It kind of looks like the Super Bowl defense that they had last year. So that might make some sense as well. For the Vikings, I think the Vikings makes the most sense in regards of they need some defensive help. They have gotten a little bit better on defense, but I think they need like one more pass rusher, one more playmaker, a difference maker on defense to kind of, help, help that offense out in regards to, being able to get off the field on third down, having a third down defense to be able to rush the passer, because the offense is good enough to where they can put points on the board. It's just now the question for the Vikings is, can they get enough stops on defense, and getting a guy like Burns who can get after the quarterback when you got a lead definitely will help. So I think the Vikings, to me, will make the most sense.
And to finish it out, do you see him being traded at the deadline, or will he be a free agent going forward next year?
I don't see him getting traded. I think they're going to keep him. They might franchise tag him. I'm not sure if that's available for him. I think it is, but they might franchise tag Burns and then, just keep him, for this season, and then, work out maybe a deal for next season. But, like I said, Carolina is, they're in an awkward position because you think they're rebuilding, but they really not rebuilding, and they actually still got a shot to win this division. As crazy as that sound, being a 2-5 team still got a chance. But yes, they're 2-5. They're only one game behind Tampa Bay and Atlanta, and they already beat Tampa Bay, and they beat New Orleans as well. So they 2 wins have been against the division. So they got a shot here. So they might try to see what they, what they can do this year and see what happens and go from there. But I think they're going to keep Burns and try to franchise tag him.
Carolina Panthers potentially having a fire sale. Will Burns last throughout that sale? We'll just wait and see. But he's definitely not short of suitors going forward. Speaking of teams trying to move forward, it seems like the Denver Broncos still seem to be at a loss of what to do with Russell Wilson. But news breaking earlier this week that Wilson potentially had a torn hamstring muscle and will potentially miss some time down the road. So this definitely would answer a lot of questions at why Russell Wilson struggled. But I definitely feel that there's more to it. And Ryan, I mean, what's your take from Russell Wilson right now in Denver? Has it been what Denver fans are going to have to expect going forward with a quarterback that's aging, or do you think that it's just injuries that he's just kind of kept to himself, but now getting out into the public?
I'm with this situation. To me, this has kind of been the most shocking development this season. I remember I was on I was on P Shark's podcast, Let's Be Real, and we talked about the AFC West. He had me on to talk about the AFC West, and I said, Denver was one of those teams where I feel like a lot of people were overrating. I thought Denver was overrated because, Russell going from a situation in Seattle where he had two really good receivers, Pro Bowl receivers, and then you're going to go to, Denver where you got young, talented but unproven wide receivers and guys like Jerry Jeudy, guys like, Cortland Sutton who can't stay healthy. Jeudy can't stay healthy either. So it kind of was a situation where I felt like Russell Wilson being there was not going to help their situation out, especially because they didn't have the receiver core that was healthy enough to help him out, and the offensive line is not as good as advertised. I mean, it's better than Seattle, but now with Bowles being hurt, it's now even worse than it was at the start of the season. I just think that Russell Wilson at this point, he's not playing well. He doesn't have a great coaching staff to back him up. Nathaniel Hackett is probably one of the worst coaches in the league right now. So it's kind of a situation where Russell he's in a situation where he's making a lot of money and he is definitely underperforming based off the contract that they gave him. I mean, they gave him $240+ million to basically, rejuvenate their franchise because they've been struggling. They have the second longest playoff drought in the National Football League. They haven't been to the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl. So for him to, struggle, and now with this injury, with this hamstring injury, it's just problems on top of problems. It looks like, to me, maybe just a lost season for Denver.
And I look at Wilson's situation, and the crazy thing is, it's really very comparable to Donovan McNabb. What McNabb went through when he went to Washington, you just saw a decline in his play, and just not being with Andy Reid, I think also was a situation you had to take in control there. It seems like the situations are almost similar in those actions, especially knowing that McNabb suffered a lot of injuries, especially later in his career. So I would have to assume, Denver feels like this is a situation that they've invested all this money in. Is it the best option for them right now to go through a fire sale and try and potentially build some picks and help get him more talent? Or is this a situation that they would have to just kind of play out and just see what will happen going forward?
I think it's the latter. I think they have to just play the situation out and see what happens going forward. I mean, they have done. They traded a lot of draft picks. I mean, if they want to rebuild, they're gonna have to get rid of some talent to get some draft capital. But at the same time, though, it's kind of tough. I mean, you traded, so many draft picks. You traded some players as well for Russell Wilson, and he's not performing at the level of quarterback that he is used to playing. So it's kind of one of those situations where, you kind of have to just kind of wash your hands with it and just see what happens going forward. Maybe they turn it around and, maybe they can make them run and see if they can get to the playoffs. But also, too, it looked like this is another injury from Russell Wilson, because if you remember last season, he had the hand or finger injury, missed a few games as well. And usually when you get one injury as an older quarterback or older player in general, once you get one injury that, and you miss some games, then it seems like, to me, it's like a snowball effect in which you would always get hurt, the year after year after year. And now you're in a situation. Denver is in a very, very strange situation, because now they gave up so much draft capital. You really have no other choice but to see how this whole situation is going to play out.
And it's an uncomfortable situation for all Denver Bronco fans, investing nearly about $250 million in a quarterback that's eventually probably going to miss at least 2 to 4 weeks of the season. But it's probably going to be a situation that won't be corrected with just adding players, but maybe even changing personnel if they have to go that far. Will it happen? That's really the $1 million question. But along those lines, there's other problems that they're going to have to try and figure out going forward. But heading into our next bit of news, it appears that not everybody's happy up in the Meadowlands, because it appears now Elijah Moore not happy with his playing time and is requesting to be traded. But unfortunately, the Jets have already come out and said that this is not going to be a situation to where they're going to appease his request. But I definitely think that if there was a good offer that came by the table, I think there might be intrigue to look. So, Brian, really, is there a potential suitor out there for Elijah Moore, and would the Jets move on it if the offer is good enough?
Yeah, I think there's definitely will be suitors. I think the Jets would do a disservice by not listening to any trade offers. I mean, you just got him a year ago. He's a second round draft pick, and he's a guy that's very talented. It's kind of a weird situation because usually you don't hear players unhappy, players happy in situations where you got guys that when you're on a winning streak like the Jets are, when you're winning 4 in a row and everybody's happy, and you usually hear that statement, "Winning cures all." I guess in this case it doesn't cure all because guys upset and he's not getting his targets, but I do think that there will be suitors. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elijah Moore. I said about this time last year or the year before, where I was saying that the Titans should have maybe take a chance and draft him in the first round or in the second round instead of Caleb Farley. But that was just that was my thought process during that time, and I would be pretty excited if the Titans at least made an offer to see what the Jets asking price would possibly be for a guy like Elijah Moore. I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be that much draft capital because, again, he's an unproven guy. Maybe a mid-round draft pick, maybe a second rounder, who knows? But I think Elijah Moore could still be a factor, even in the Jets uniform. Maybe it's just, they just need to kind of get their stuff together and kind of mend fences, whatever's going on behind the scenes. But if not, I can definitely see a team like the Titans, maybe making a call and see what the offer price could possibly be for the Jets receiver. I can't hear you, Mike.
Sorry, y'all. We just have bugs today, and I'm going to give an earful to the fine people over at the streaming service. So believe me, I'm not too happy with what's been transpiring. So my apologies. But getting back to the task at hand, the Jets definitely could ask for a second round pick if they wanted to. I still think there's value in Moore, and his numbers are still solid. I think right now this season he's got about 203 yards, 16 receptions, and you look at his body work last year before he got injured. He had about 538, 5 touchdowns, 43 receptions. So any team that's receiver needy, I think it's a good deal to try and potentially hand off a second round pick for his value. My biggest question is, can he stay healthy for that amount of time? Because an ACL tear is a very serious injury, and I definitely think that teams will try and potentially even move to offer a third round pick. So, Ryan, I'll put your GM hat on for you. What do you think is the best offer that you would give for a player like Moore?
For me personally, I wouldn't give a first round draft pick, of course. I would be very, very, I don't know about a second round draft pick either. I would probably say no higher than a third. I would say, give him a third, maybe a third and a fourth, and see, what the Jets, like that move or not. But I wouldn't, if the Jets are asking for like a first round pick or a second round draft pick, and unless you got one of those teams where they got multiple draft picks, like let's say multiple second round draft picks, and you're willing to give away one of those second round draft picks, then yeah, by all means do it. But if you don't have that much draft capital, or you want to keep your draft capital and try to see if you can get him for a third round pick or even maybe a fourth round pick, I say go for it.
And to finish this one off, what team, if the Jets were able to make a trade with the right offer, what team do you think would be the best fit to acquire his services?
Yeah, it's kind of what you were saying about receiver needy teams. Like, the Titans are on that list. I would say maybe, if he's really caring about trying to get production and trying to be more involved in the offense. I mean, this ain't the sexiest team, but I would say maybe a team like the Chicago Bears. Bears team. You will have to go on NFL.com to know who their receivers are. That's how that's how bad their receivers are right now. So I would say if Elijah Moore really cares about more about the production and trying to get targets and getting involved in the offense, I would look at a wide receiver needy team like the Bears, who arguably got the worst receiving core in the league. I would say, that team, maybe even the New England Patriots, but I know that's not going to happen because that's within the division. So I would say the Bears, the Titans, maybe maybe even the Steelers. Not the Steelers. I'm sorry. Maybe even the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens. I know they just got Deshaun Jackson, but that I don't know how long that's going to last. So maybe they can get Elijah Moore, to add to their receiving core because they need some receivers too. They don't really have a go-to wide receiver at the moment besides Mark Andrews, but he's a tight end.
But regardless, if the Jets were to make that move, it would be a beneficial move for both teams. The Jets also adding draft capital, which they've done very well in the last couple of years to actually build up to where they are at their 5-2 record. So couldn't hurt to listen to some offers, but will they take an offer? That's another story. And to finish it off, guys, we have a Monday Night Football game. Of course, it's the Bears and the Patriots in Foxborough, and it is raining right now, so this will be pretty interesting, especially if you're a Bears fan. So, Ryan, in this raining matchup in Foxborough, Massachusetts, where the Patriots have basically dominated this rivalry in the only 12 times these teams have played, what team is going to be the X factor here? Do you think the home team stands a chance, or can the Bears pull a potential upset?
Well, with the raining conditions, it does kind of level the playing field a little bit. To me, is the key is going to be who can run the football the best. Both teams kind of, thrive their offensive game plan based off running the football. The Bears have, they got David Montgomery, they got the other guy Herbert as well. Of course, New England has Stevenson, but I would say that the key is going to be which team is going to make the big critical mistake because with the rain and the offensive limitation from both teams, it's going to be a very low scoring, ugly football game, or at least what I think is going to be a low scoring, ugly football game. So it's going to come down to field position, who's going to make the big play on offense, who's going to make an even bigger play on defense, and whoever does that is going to come out on top. Me personally, I think the Patriots have done such a great job with utilizing Zappy, the third string quarterback, and he's been pretty good. He's been really good considering the circumstances. Being put in there, probably didn't think he was going to play this year, and two quarterbacks get hurt, which that doesn't happen a whole lot often in the National Football League. And he's came right there and just stepped it up. So to me, I like the Patriots in this matchup. I think it's going to be like a 2-score victory. The Bears, I think Justin Fields, he's been struggling. This offensive system, whatever offensive system that the Bears have, is not working. And I feel like the offense has regressed under this offensive system. Based off of last year when they had Ryan Nagy. I don't know what the Bears are really doing this season, especially on offense. But their defense is pretty good, but their offense, I just don't know how they're going to move the football on offense.
And you definitely, if you're the Patriots, you have a little bit of a sigh of relief. Mac Jones comes back to the lineup. But unfortunately for them, their offensive line has just been abysmal at times. You look at the stats basically at this point right now, the Patriots are 11th in points. They're 7th in points allowed. So really the Bears have a chance to put some points on this team. But unfortunately, you're not doing so hot yourself because most of the categories your offense then is right around 30 or 32. So that definitely is going to keep things interesting. I definitely see a game where they're definitely going to keep running the ball. But Ryan, let's go ahead and get to predictions. I'll give you the first take. Who comes in with a win on Monday Night Football?
I'm gonna go with the Patriots. I think the Patriots are there at home. They play very well at home. Bill Belichick is tied second all time in wins. This would be the perfect time to bypass. I think his name is George Hallis, and be the sole possession of second place in the all-time wins list for coaches, including including playoff wins as well. So I got the Patriots. I got them as basically a 2-score victory. Again, I just don't really know how the Bears are going to generate offense unless their defense, causes some kind of turnovers and kind of put the Bears offense in good field position. But other than that, if that's not going to be the case, I got the Patriots as an easy victory here.
And I'll have to agree. I mean, how appropriate is it that the Patriots are facing the Bears? Belichick is going to get his career-breaking win against George Hallis, who coached the Bears. Very poetic, I might say. So I think you're in for a good, wet, just fumble fest kind of a football game. But in general, I like the Patriots here. I think Mac Jones will be a little slow to start. I think you're going to see a lot of just ground and pound when it comes to just getting the ball moving. But I think it's going to be an interesting game, to say the least. And it looks like Mom's throwing her hat in the ring on that, so shout out to Mom for the Patriots on that pick. But it's an interesting game, and we'll get you out there as soon as we can. So, unfortunately, it's just very frustrating today. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if any of this stuff's playing for you, so I'm just kind of having to go with what's on my screen. So, my apologies if there is any problems tonight. But rest assured, I will definitely make sure and take care of that. But if we can, we'll try and take a quick 30-second break. I don't know if it'll work. You'll probably just see me and Ryan sitting here for 30 seconds, catching our breath. Hopefully that's not the case. But when we come back, Titans, Colts. The Titans have swept the Colts. So what's next? Especially knowing Ryan Tannehill may not be playing this week. So we'll have quite a few things to talk about. But we'll take a quick 30-second break. And when we come back, we'll break that down. I'm Michael Bishop of Power. And we'll be back in 30. The Power Hour's on the air, live streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Hopefully. I'm your host, Michael Bishop. Thank you for joining us on this Monday evening. Guys, we're definitely shaking off the rust on this show, and I apologize for the sound. I apologize if anything's kind of glitchy today. We're kind of like the Titans offense. We're not getting in the end zone, but we're kicking field goals. So we got that going for us. Just hopefully we can finish out strong with the show. But we're making it a great show because we've got our friend Ryan Harris from the Jump Pass Podcast joining us today. And Ryan, we're very grateful to have you on tonight. It's always fun to just get your insight on this. And you have had a lot of great things going on. And let me be the first to say, congratulations on finishing school. He's a graduate, so round of applause all around.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Been a long journey. A lot of sleepless nights, doing assignments, trying to get assignments in before midnight strikes, and doing essays and everything. So all of it is paid off, and I can't wait to actually get my degree. I already just ordered my frame, so now I'm just waiting on the piece of paper to come to my house, and I'm gonna have it it's probably somewhere around here. So that way, next time I be live, you'll see it probably around here somewhere. So I'm truly blessed to be able to finish this journey that I've embarked in, and I can't say enough about what God has done for me. So I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you, Mike, for your support, and everybody that's gave me congratulations for this accomplishment.
Well, Ryan, I'm very just happy that you've worked so hard to get this dream to come true. And believe me, you've earned it, and we're very happy for you on the show and elsewhere. Everybody's definitely giving their shout outs. Mom's giving her love as well. So you've worked and you've earned this moment, so enjoy it. You only get to graduate once. So also shout out to Lou Man. Glad we got Lou Man back. Lou Man, I'm sorry, man. We're definitely gonna try and make sure we get you this info, because we definitely got a lot of information going around, and I think I can share a little bit of information and not get in trouble. So Ryan, I think I might share this if that's fine with you. So Ryan is now part of the Titan Upload Network, and you heard it here first. So congratulations to Ryan. The good news keeps coming. We're very excited to have him, and I know there's going to be a lot of great ideas and great plans we're going to have, and especially getting his podcast on with the Titan Upload Network and just move that forward and make that a big part of the show. So Ryan, I know you got a lot to share, so maybe you can share a little bit, just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I wanted to just shout out to the Titan Upload for, we've been talking for months, and everything, and I've been talking to some other networks, and some networks gave me some good offers, and I was like, yeah, this sounds good, but I wanted to be with the Titan Upload Network because I felt like, to me, and I mentioned this on the last episode of my podcast, where being with people that I'm comfortable being with, in talking football and talking Titans, and being able to, have that comfortability to just kind of express myself and have ideas that's going to, better the network. I'm not here to, step on anybody's toes. I'm just here to contribute to, that's best fit based off of what everybody, expectation of me is. And like I said, it's going to be a true honor to join the network. It's going to be, very excited. I've been, excited about joining the network, and, it's just been none but positivity from you guys at the network, and I'm forever grateful. And, I'm just here to, make a great network even better. So that's just what I'm coming in to do. And, like I said in my last episode, nothing's really going to change. I'm still going to be doing me and doing the jump pass and just having, talk about all things Tennessee Titans, and may sprinkle in an NFL topic here and there. But it's just, just having Titan Upload in the entire network, yourself, Mike, and, Titans Rossi, and everybody that's currently in the network being able to support me, and me being able to support you guys as well. That was important to me, just being somewhere where I feel like I can get the most support on both sides, where I can support the network, and the network can support me as well. So that was very important for me, and I'm very excited. Can't wait to get started, and I got to get used to saying the jump pass by the Titan Upload Network. I haven't got the words together to say how I'm gonna do my intro, but it's to have the Titan Upload logo on there, it's gonna be pretty sweet to look at, once I get the ball rolling and everything.
And believe me, Ryan, I absolutely hit the ceiling when I heard the news. Ryan, when he started out, was just one of those dudes. I loved his insight. I love the way he just carries himself. He just has that just cool moxie about him. And I just knew I got to have this dude on my show as much as possible, because he just brings that good insight. He's fun to talk with. He's an amazing friend, and I'm glad I built this friendship up with you. And I love having you on the show, and having you part of the network. That's just icing on the cake. So I'm super stoked to see what we're going to be getting you into. I know the podcast is only going to grow from here, because we definitely got a great voice driving it. So shout out to our boss man, Titan Upload, continuing to grow the network, bringing on Ryan Harris. Big win for the network. Big win for everybody in general. So you heard it here first. Ryan Harris is now officially a part of the Titan Upload network.
Thank you for all those kind words, and likewise on my end, it's always great to just talk to people and network with people, and just being able to develop that bond and that camaraderie to where we could just talk about Titans, we could talk about NFL, we could even talk about our personal lives, what we got going on, and just having that comfortability to just talk to each other. And like I said, I can't wait. I'm happy to be with the network and ready to get this thing jump into a whole nother level.
And we're definitely excited to get you in, buddy. And I promise we're only going to keep going up. There's no stopping this train. We're full speed ahead, and we're just going to keep going the way we need to keep going, and that's forward. Well, all right, Brian, we definitely got a lot to talk about, especially going forward with the Titans and the Colts. And I'll say this to start it out. I know everybody felt a little iffy, especially going into the second half. And it gets you just really, really antsy, especially knowing the way the Titans have performed in the second half on offense. And unfortunately, that just didn't work out so well, even going from there. Tennessee managed to find a way not to get in the end zone all day. But they put points up, and I'll give them that. So, Ryan, with this game, basically solidifying the Titans, sweeping the Colts, handling business on the road and at home, leading with 4 division games left, do you feel confident enough that Tennessee can still potentially win this division, or do we have to try to potentially watch out for Houston and a growing Jacksonville team?
I would say still be on the lookout for Houston and Jacksonville. Both teams are much better than they were last year. The record doesn't show that, obviously, but I've watched some Jaguars games and I watched some Texans games, and those two teams are much, much different football team. Those two teams are much different than they were last year. You look at Houston. Houston is a scrappy team. They kind of remind me of the Detroit Lions from last year, where not a very good team. They're hanging around. They're playing hard for their head coach, and they're a very scrappy team. So, definitely watch out for Houston. And historically, last, 3 or 4 years, the Titans and the Texans games have always been close. It always comes down to like a field goal or something. It comes down to like a one possession game. And then Jacksonville, to me, they're a team that's young. Trevor Lawrence has played well for the most part. And again, they're a team that's playing hard for their head coach. I'm a big Doug Peterson fan because I feel like Doug Peterson is a pretty solid head coach. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach, and he's getting the most out of Trevor Lawrence. The problem with Jacksonville, of course, is by them being a young team, they don't know how to hold on to leads. And that's usually what happens with young teams. They don't know how to hold on to leads. They don't know how to play with a lead and basically do what they have to do to sustain that lead and come out with a victory. So the Titans should feel good about themselves, but still, be on the lookout for Houston and Jacksonville, because those two teams are playing very, very hard for their head coaches, and it's going to be a tough battle.
And basically, you look at the body of work Tennessee has just put up. It's whether they find a way to win through defense or special teams or just through Derrick Henry running, they find a success in it. But it's not a sustainable way to be successful. I think Mike Vrabel understands that his guys are going to play hard for him, and that's respectable. But you have to feel that going forward, there has to be an X factor of some sort that can get them over that hump. And it's severely lacking, especially in the wide receiver department, and even just consistently with the offensive line. So out of the two, Ryan, which one do you think is holding this team back the most?
I would say definitely the O-line. O-line has been struggling. I've been basically saying this really for the last 3 months. The O-line to me is it's been a struggle. Then with Taylor Lewan healthy, it was a struggle, and now without Taylor Lewan, is worse. Especially the left side of that O line, which was a strength last year. We had Lewan, we had Sappho. Now it's a big weakness, and it's just one of those situations where now you're dealing with a whole bunch of injuries. Ben Jones getting hurt. But he did come back. But that's the kind of injury he had. I think he had to pop his knee back in place or something like that. So that might be something that's going to be lingering for a while. Hopefully Nate Davis can be healthy. He's missed the last couple of games, but it's a mess. O-line, and I pointed it. Like I said, I pointed out during training camp, and I saw it in the first preseason game against Baltimore. I was like, this offensive line is going to be the biggest weakness on this football team, and it's going to prevent them from really reaching their full potential on offense, especially in the passing game. And that's where they've been struggling the most is pass protection. And as a result, quarterback got hurt, and he might have to miss a game upcoming Sunday. But we'll see what happens with that.
And a great point you bring up. I mean, Ryan Tannehill going down, Titan Nation collectively held their breath, see what would happen, but he came out and helped finish the game in magnificent style. But you still have to feel that with an injury of that nature and the offensive line struggling to help give him any kind of support, and it's really hard to just say the entire offensive line because there's certain guys that are pulling their weight. We know Ben Jones is doing his job. We know Nicholas Petit-Frere has been doing pretty good on his side of the ball. It's just everywhere else, there's just injuries or inconsistency. So, do you feel confident enough that if Malik Willis has to make this start, can he make a difference?
I would say yes in a way because he's athletic enough to where if the offensive line is not doing their part in passing situation, he can escape the pocket. And usually with young quarterbacks, that's going to be their first kind of thought process. If their first read ain't there, they gone. And, with Malik Willis' athleticism, it could, help out the O-line in a way to where, they're not giving up sacks. And, defenses, too, could be a little bit less aggressive of trying to get after Malik Willis, knowing that he can go out there and scramble and give you big yards for the Titans offense. So having him out there as from an athletic standpoint would definitely help the O-line. But if he has to be the starting quarterback, they will have to probably dumb down the game plan a little bit and be more of a even more of a run first team because they're already a run first team with Tannehill. They have to be a little bit more creative running the football, and because they're going to basically defenses are going to play Malik to say, okay, beat us with your arm and not with your leg.
And there's no doubt he has the arm strength to make a pass, and I know that he's going to have to eventually. Just what kind of passing setup do you think that they would have to structure to him that would make him feel a little more comfortable without having to try and do anything too complicated?
Well, they just have to simplify the game plan. Don't try to have him do too much. Play action passes, rollouts, things of that nature. If you're gonna do a passing play, maybe your first passing play could be like a rollout to the fullback or a rollout to Derrick Henry out of the backfield or something like that to kind of get his feet wet, to kind of get him comfortable. You don't want to put too much on him from the start of the game. As the game goes along and he gets more comfortable, then you can kind of add some more, some other passing opportunities for him to where he can throw the ball, down the field if possible. But I feel like to me, Mike Vrabel is, he's a smart coach. He knows what, Malik Willis can and can't do at this stage of his career so far. So I think he's going to put him in a situation to where he's not going to, have to do a whole lot. He's going to basically put him in a position to where, he's going to be comfortable and he's going to match his, his skill set. I mean, I trust Mike Vrabel. I mean, if Mike Vrabel can get a win off of Blaine Gabbert from a few years ago as a starting quarterback, I trust Mike Vrabel to be able to sustain, have enough victories with Malik Willis until Ryan Tannehill can get healthy.
Now looking at some positives in the game, and there's quite a few to take. I mean, especially when it seemed like there's just a lot of problems that still need to be fixed going forward. But looking at some of the positive things going forward, what were some plays or some players that stood out to you in this game?
We got to start with Adams, man, the safety. I mean, when I saw Jim Wise tweet. Basically, they kind of say, "Okay, Hooker, you're instead of being out as a safety, you're going to be basically a slot corner." And they basically had him as a slot corner, and they had Adams as safety. And the reason why, and I listened to, the broadcast, and they said that Adams was a very smart and an instinctive player, a guy that knows where to be at in certain situations, and it proved when he had that pick six on Matt Ryan, because he was out in space, he was watching the quarterback. And once the quarterback made his decision on who he was going to ball with, he quickly ran to that spot and basically jumped that route and picked it off and took it to the house. So I would say Adams was one that really stood out to me. Of course, the front line, the defensive front, which continues to be a strength of this team. Simmons had a sack, Bud Dupree had a sack, Audrey had a sack. They continue to basically be the strength of this football team. And they gave Matt Ryan a lot, especially in the first half. Matt Ryan could barely move the football in the first half. And so it was just those was a couple of things that stood out to me. And also I want to give a small shout out to Randy Bullock. Randy Bullock has, he's done his job. He's been making his kicks. And we needed every single one of those points. We needed every single one because the Titans offense basically gave you nothing. So with Randy Bullock making his kicks, that kept it from being out of reach for the Titans to win this football game. And we got to give Randy credit. If we're gonna get on Randy for missing kicks, we got to also praise Randy for making his kicks as well.
And looking at the Colts side of the ball, once again, and it seems like Tennessee has their number now. The rivalry has shifted at this point, and even more worrisome. Now the Colts are without Matt Ryan, shutting him down for the season, and now handing the starting job to their backup. Can they find success with this?
I really don't know. Now I do follow people from Colts Twitter, and I know some Colts content creators from my times at being at the old network, and my also having conversations with Colts people. They pretty high on Sam Ehlinger. They pretty high on him. They think that he's a guy that can really make a difference. Could possibly be their future starting quarterback. But I don't think, as far as this season, though, it's going to be hard because Frank Wright, to me, is not a very good head coach. And he continues to neglect the running game, which is supposed to be the strength of their team. When I was looking at the box score and looking at the stats, I mean, Jonathan Taylor only having 10 carries in a game where it wasn't a blowout. It wasn't like it was a 24 or 21-point lead. It was mostly anywhere between 9 points to 13-point lead. And, your best player only getting 10 carries is inexcusable. I mean, it's inexcusable. And it's not like he was not productive with those 10 carries. He was averaging nearly 6 yards a carry with those 10 carries. So at the end of the day, it's really because they gotta clean house. Is their head coach is not very good, and their GM's a little bit overrated. A lot of people say Chris Ballard has been doing this and he's doing that. He has great drafts, but those draft picks, although they've been decent, but they haven't really changed their franchise the way that you would think, having a GM like that would change the course of their roster. So it, to me, is Frank Wright, and it's definitely Chris Ballard is the problem with Indianapolis. And if Jim Irsay would ever, get out of his own way and realize that, then the Colts are going to continue to struggle as a franchise.
And all those are great points. I mean, Indianapolis is just fallen further behind and can't seem to just get out of their own way. It amazes me to the point where Indy thinks they can just go after older quarterbacks and just think that that's a system that's sustainable. Denver tried that. And I mean, yes, you can do that with Peyton Manning, but how many good years Peyton Manning did they get? 3? Before he just started falling apart at his last season? Sustainability is just something the Colts have lacked for the last better part of 3 or 4 year stretch since Mike Vrabel arrived. And while Frank Wright, I think, is still a great coordinator, it's, as you said, he's not a good head coach. He can't manage his players. He can't manage a game plan. He can't manage his time. And we've seen that time and time again. That's one of the biggest reasons why they fell apart right at the end of the season. Inconsistency is just plagued the Colts. And I said it from the beginning. Matt Ryan was not going to be the answer. You can't bring in a quarterback that was the second most sacked quarterback in the league at that time and think that's going to fix your problems.
Yeah. It's kind of one of those situations where instead of, let's just say, you hurt yourself, right? You broke your leg, right? And instead of, getting surgery, going to the doctor and getting surgery, you keep putting Band-Aids on there, hoping that it was, heal itself. And that's what the Colts have done in their quarterback position. Instead of going through the process and trying to get, a quarterback, with one of these draft classes, get a quarterback and see if they can develop them, they feel like, okay, we could just get, one of these quarterbacks from, that was good way back when. And, Frank Reich's supposed to be this offensive guru, and he's going to fix the quarterback. He thought he can fix Carson Wentz, even though I think Carson Wentz did have a good year until those last couple of games of the regular season last year. With Matt Ryan, I feel like, you got a guy who he's not athletic, and you got a bad O-line. That's a recipe for disaster, and that's what the Colts are going through right now.
So heading forward, Tennessee will be preparing for Houston, and it will be at Houston. So really, there's going to be a lot of question marks, especially with who's going to be playing, who's not going to be playing. Right now, injury-wise, Kyle Phillips still questionable. Nate Davis is going to be questionable. Tony Carter, Zach Cunningham, I think they're definitely going to need to try and get him involved if they can. So preparing for Houston, what's Tennessee going to have to do, knowing the situations they're going in right now, to try and slow down a somewhat interesting Houston Texans team?
They're really going to have to make them one-dimensional. If they are having a balanced attack, then the Titans are going to have some issues. To me, what I've seen from the Titans defense is they have made teams one-dimensional. They basically say, okay, we're going to stop the run and we're going to force your quarterback to basically beat us. And that's been successful so far. The Texans are an interesting team. Davis Mills is not a bad quarterback. He's better than I expected. And they do have a really good running back. Pierce is a really good running back, a guy that he fights for extra yards. He's a very tough-nosed guy. Guy that can run between the tackles. He's very explosive. They still got Brandon Cooks, who's an explosive receiver. So they are a very interesting team. But you have to basically make them a one-dimensional team. And then secondly, when you got to get up on them. And what I mean by that is you got to basically, get up and score. And you got to get off to a really, really good start, because I've always had this theory: when you're going against bad football teams, if you let them hang around, and let them believe that they can beat you, most of the time they will beat you. So basically, you got to get off to a really good start. Get out to a hot start, get out to a 2-3 touchdown lead, and then basically put their foot on their neck, which the Titans have not done this season, and just find a way to get some second half offense going. 14 touchdowns is, I'm sorry, not 14 touchdowns, 14 points through the second half is not the recipe of winning football. So they're gonna have to figure out something on this in the second half. But those are my thoughts about the game.
It'll definitely be an interesting situation with Tennessee starting that game on the road, and it's only going to get harder from there. Looking at the schedule, you'll be at the Chiefs, you'll host Denver, you'll be at Green Bay, you'll host Cincinnati, and you'll end that gauntlet at Philly. So really the Titans season starts next week, and it's going to determine especially how far they get, if they can get into the playoffs again this year with the setup that they have offensively. And as concerning as it is, how many of those games do you think Tennessee can realistically win in that gauntlet?
I think they can win at least 3. I know the hard one, the game that's going to be hard to beat is going to be that Thursday night at Green Bay. And the only reason why I'm saying that is because, it's a short week. You're going to be on the road, and you're going to be playing. I think they got Denver right before before going to Green Bay, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so you got Denver, and Denver, as bad as they are on offense, they really good on defense. So it's going to be a physical game. So, with that matchup, it could be a physical, low-scoring game. And then you really got to dust yourself off. And then on a short week, you got to travel to Green Bay. So that's going to be the tough one. Not necessarily because the opponent is tough. It's because of the circumstances are going to be tough. So that's going to be one that I'm going to be watching. But I think they can win at least 3 games and kind of hold their own. I think Cincinnati is a winnable game. The Chiefs, historically, well, not historically, but over the last couple of years, the Titans have gotten the best of the Chiefs in the regular season, but that was in Nissan Stadium. Now they had to go to Arrowhead, so it's going to be a different kind of atmosphere. But I do think that the Titans are in a situation where they can play really with anybody as long as they stick to their game plan and stick to what they know how to do best, and that's play mistake-free football. Don't do anything stupid. Don't commit stupid penalties. Control, play ball control. Win the time of possession. Win the turnover battle, most importantly, and just give yourself a chance. Of course, it's football. It's any given Sunday, so you have to. As long as you do the little things, the intangibles, you're going to put yourself into a situation where you can win a ball game.
And those are great points. I think the Green Bay game is definitely going to be one of the hard ones, especially not knowing what the weather is going to look like. I do think if it does turn out to be one of those weather games where it's actually decent, I think Tennessee's got a chance because Aaron Rodgers and his young wide receiver core are still trying to figure each other out. The Bengals game to me is a toss-up because Joe Burrow is kind of getting hot at the right moment since game 1. He's thrown 12 touchdowns to 1 interception, so he's definitely getting in his groove. Philadelphia is a monster right now, and that's the game that scares me. Philadelphia is just clicking on all 4 cylinders.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Philadelphia, and again, we might, Titans might, might catch Philadelphia at a bad time. Usually, what's been going on the last couple of years is teams starting out hot, they lose a game here, and then all of a sudden they lose that momentum, and then you catch them at a bad time, you might beat them. The Titans have a knack of beating teams that everybody, the whole media thinks they can't beat. So they have a knack of basically being the underdog and playing it very well. So it could be one of those situations where, under the right circumstances, the Titans can beat a team like Philadelphia. They can beat a team like Green Bay. They can beat a team like Kansas City. It could be just like last year where everybody was thinking that the Titans couldn't beat those teams, couldn't beat Buffalo, Kansas City, LA, New Orleans. They did, and they beat all those teams. So, it's plenty of football left, and it's plenty of time for the Titans to right the wrongs they have, established so far this season, especially with, offensive production. So we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be very exciting to see how this team kind of gets through that gauntlet.
And another tough gauntlet coming into this year to see if the Titans can get enough wins to make a difference. I do feel some of these games are very winnable. I think along the lines, Tennessee's going to have to start scoring touchdowns. You can't win games without touchdowns. And not trying to give the John Madden analogy there, but that's the truth.
I mean,
so one way or another, this team has to do it.
You can't win if you can't score. It's that simple.
Well, all right, guys, just in lieu of a break, I think we'll go another 10 minutes. If I can hang for another 10 minutes. I definitely do want to be courteous to our guest.
Let's do it.
News broke out last week of the Tennessee Titans coming to an agreement with the city of Nashville, and now a new stadium is on the docket, and it will be eventually voted on by the city council. And I don't think that's going to be any kind of holdup unless they want to change a few things in the contract, which that's bound to happen. But I think it's going to go through. So a lot of excitement, very excited for the future of Titans football and for Nashville in general. So Ryan, didn't get to talk about this last week, but I've got you here now. I know everybody's itching to talk about this as well. So what's your takeaway from the new stadium that will be potentially be built by the end of 2026?
I'm very excited. I thought that was tremendous news to hear today. Are in the works of getting a new stadium. I think personally, me being in Memphis, being able to kind of see Nashville thriving as a city is great to watch. To me, new stadium brings new excitement because now you have this opportunity to, rebuild a brand new stadium, a much more modern stadium, to where the fans like myself and you, Mike, and anybody else could go into a football game with the comfortability of watching Tennessee Titan football in person. Also, too, usually when you have new stadiums, that means new revenue as well. Then also, too, another thing to kind of point out is usually when you have a new stadium, that means there's an opportunity to host a Super Bowl in the future. So I could see, Nashville hosting the Super Bowl probably around 2028, 2029, somewhere around there, to where, the Titans, where Nashville will be hosting a Super Bowl, and that's just going to make that city just be even more popular. And to me, it's a big W for not only for the Titans, but for the city of Nashville as well, because Nashville has been booming for the last decade plus, and it continues to trend at a positive level. And I'm very excited about the new stadium. I can't wait to see what the final layout is going to look like, and hopefully they call it the Coliseum, because I think if they don't call it the Coliseum, that's going to be a big missed opportunity for the Titans.
And you definitely got to feel good, especially about the location. It's going to stay basically right behind where the old stadium is. So I think location was key there. It also opens up a lot of potential just building developments, potential housing, potential business district. It'll help that area boom, and especially bring in more jobs and revenue for that area and for the city of Nashville. And getting into everything, there's a lot of just small detail stuff, and I know that it's going to be discussed, especially when they come to a vote. But more along the lines, I think it's a good deal for the city. I think it's a good deal long term, especially going forward. I know there are a few hiccups with some of the situations going forward. And one of the things discussed was this could potentially be this could be a stadium that could only seat around 55,000 to 60,000 fans. So do you think that that's a situation where they're just trying to make less seats and potentially expand into a bigger area where fans can wander around freely, maybe kind of like a stand-around course or maybe just a pavilion? Do you think that might be an option to just bring more people into more of a movement setting? I guess I'm trying to say.
I mean, yeah, I think to me, I don't think the capacity is that big of an issue. I just think that if you're gonna, to your point, if you're gonna make it a little bit smaller in capacity, yeah, I think it's going to make it a more of an opportunity to kind of do more stuff around the stadium. So I don't think it's that big of an issue. I know that I've been hearing a lot of talk about the capacity is not as large as you would think for a new stadium, but me personally, I don't think it's a big of an issue if the Titans can sell out their stadium and be loud and be ruckus to the opposing team. It's a 60,000 capacity stadium going to feel like 100,000 capacity stadium if it's filled with Titan fans. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue as long as you don't do like the Falcons and put fake crowd noise or anything like that, like they've done a couple of times in the past. But other than that, I don't think it's that big of an issue.
And I don't think it's an issue either. I do think there's ways to get people in a stadium without them having a seat. You're potentially talking about adding maybe a pavilion where people can stand around, or maybe like a sideline porch, or maybe even a sideline bar like most teams are doing nowadays, which gives it a more intimate setting. And those seats would definitely sell, no doubt. But I also come to one conclusion where people bring up this question, with a smaller setting, the Super Bowl generally requires that you have to have a 70,000 capacity stadium in order to make that happen. But do you think that there's a special exception the NFL would make to help move that process forward?
I would think so. I would hope so, because if you think about it, all the stadiums that have hosted a Super Bowl, they all been recently new stadiums. Minnesota, Arizona's a little bit older, but when they were first new, they had they hosted the Super Bowl. Indianapolis hosts the Super Bowl. I mean, Indianapolis has the NFL Combine. You got Dallas, of course, Las Vegas. Last year with the Rams and Chargers stadium, but mostly it's really the Rams stadium. But I would think so. I would hope that just because of a capacity difference, it wouldn't sway the other way. And then number two, Nashville is compared to the other cities, cities like Minnesota, it's a warm weather city. So in January, it's cold in Nashville, but it's not like Minnesota where it could possibly snow. You know what I'm saying? So, and they had an issue. I remember they had that Super Bowl it was the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos in MetLife Stadium. It was cold. Fans complained that they were sitting in a cold stadium. It was like 20 plus degrees out there. So you don't want to be in that situation where, you're trying to host other cities because, they're new and they, it's a cold weather and you have the risk of a cold weather, maybe possibly delaying the Super Bowl. So I think it's just another city that you can add to your list of cities that can host a Super Bowl. Consider the fact that Tennessee is mostly a warm weather state.
And of course, Lou Man brings up his point. He's not into the whole situation, and that's fine, Lou. I don't expect everybody to be on board with it. I know Nissan Stadium does mean a lot to a lot of fans, and it's hard to think that the Titans are going to have to eventually either move out or refurbish it, which refurbishing was going to cost just about the same amount as it would to build a new stadium. But the capabilities and just the possibilities are endless. You bring in WrestleMania, the college football playoff, the college football national championship, potentially the FIFA World Cup down the road if they want to go through that whole process again. The SEC could alternate venues for the SEC championship. You could have it in Atlanta one year, and you could have it in Nashville the other year.
Yeah.
So you really open the door for a lot of great venues that Nashville couldn't host, especially in these times where it's pretty terrible weather. It's cold. And honestly, the fan experience, nobody wants to pay nearly about $140 and sit out in the rain.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those points, and also too, they got the college college football bowl game. The Music City Bowl usually is in Nashville, so they may put it in the new stadium. I doubt it, but if you're a person that likes Nissan Stadium, they're probably going to keep it at Nissan Stadium. So, I understand Lou Man's point there in regards of Nissan being that, I guess, that historical feel. Right. So it's kind of one of those things. I understand, like, when Memphis, the Grizzlies, when they played in the Pyramid, it's a historical landmine. But they have since then they turned it into basically Bass Pro Shop. So if you wanted to get that Pyramid spirit experience, you can still get that Pyramid experience, by going to Bass Pro Shop. Now that the Grizzlies have got a newer stadium with the FedEx Forum, so I definitely understand the what Lou Man understand point is about not liking the change of stadium, but Nissan still will play a role in Nashville, in my opinion.
And it's going to be around until they get all the paperwork done. So Tennessee's going to be playing right across the street from it, so it's not like they have to relocate. It's not like the entire experience of when they came to Nashville in the first place. So it just makes more sense. So they'll be there. The new stadium will be next door. It's the best scenario. Lumen says, I like football outside and real. Well, I mean, it's the thing. Lumen, I mean, football is played everywhere now. I mean, the dome setting is just more of an intimate setting for fans where you can be indoors and have that experience without experiencing sunburn, without experience getting rained on and walking into your car soaking wet. I mean, you don't have to say that to me. I enjoy football in all elements. But I'm getting up there in age, man. I don't want to sit outside in 20-degree weather. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I got 4 kids. I got a wife and 3 kids. I'm not trying to prove anything. My manhood is not in question. I don't have to sit outside after I paid nearly $200 for tickets and try and just prove to people, I'm just going to sit out here because I paid for these tickets. It's cold. I mean, I want to be inside. I want to enjoy my beer without having rain fall on it. I don't want to go home sunburned with a farmer stand. That's just me. When you get older, things change. And for me, indoor stadium's fine. I get the same product. I know a lot of people aren't big fans of turf, but we'll just see what happens going forward. I mean, players get injured on grass as well. I know turf fields get a bum rep, but let's be honest. Players are going to get hurt wherever there's football going. So
I agree with all those points. I agree with you on the not proving anything to anybody, because that's kind of how I feel too. When I was younger and in my early 20s and everything, it was I could still I could stand up and be at a football stadium with 20+ degree weather. As long as I had something warm to drink, I was good. But now a little bit older, bones kind of ache a little bit more now. I can't really do all that. So I need to be in the most comfortable place possible if I'm gonna spend $200+ on a ticket. I need to be in the most comfortable place possible to watch a football game.
Yeah, that's a young man's game. I'm not the high school player that's walking out wearing nothing on a 20-degree day. That's a young man's game. I'm not a young man anymore, and I can admit that. And man, I mean, the Final Four, definitely the Final Four.
Yep. Made a great point there. Yeah.
Not to mention, you have that venue there, and you have Bridgestone right across the street. So I mean, you could get double tournament action, or potentially even have the women's Final Four there.
Yeah,
because they'll draw a crowd too.
Definitely, it's definitely great for the city of Nashville to be able to have a new stadium. It just opens so many lanes to where you can utilize that stadium to its full capacity. So it's just from a financial standpoint, it just makes so much sense for the city of Nashville to approve this stadium and get and have that stadium for not only just Titans football but other other avenues of income in sports. So it's just a big, like I said, big W for the city of Nashville.
And I mean, we'll see what happens as they go forward. I know it still has to be voted on. I know there's probably going to be things that get changed around in the contract language. And I mean, regardless, there's always going to be a way for not everybody's going to be on the hook to pay for this. But at the same time, Tennessee is a football state, and we've seen that in the last few months. Whether it be college, whether it be professional, Tennessee thrives on athletics, and I think that's a big part of moving forward and moving the needle forward. And I also feel that this new stadium also can give a potential new identity to the Titans going forward. Because you want to get these kind of deals done, especially while the team's interesting and people want to go to these games. Buffalo was able to get their stadium deal done like that because the team's interesting.
Yep.
So hats off to A&M Struck for getting this deal done. Still has to be voted on, but more than likely it's going to pass through and no one's going to notice. But on the positive side, we definitely want to see more embracement of, Greek culture. The Titans definitely have. We want to see the Coliseum, as Ryan said, become a comeback kind of a situation. I would like to genuinely see a better Hall of Fame. I would like to see more of an active Hall of Fame. Just on the perspective, I'd like to just integrate just the Oilers and the Titans history together and kind of put it in a monument park, kind of like what Yankee Stadium has. I always felt that it was very classy, and I always feel that that's very good. That was always one of my favorite things as far as honoring players. But I do it in more of an interactive way.
Yeah, I like all. Yeah, I think those are great ideas for it too. Yeah, to kind of put that Oiler history and that Titan history together, and it could be that's for like the younger fans who who wasn't around when the Oilers were around, right? So it's kind of I think that would be a nice, great touch for the stadium and kind of learn the history of the Oilers and the Warren Moon era and the Earl Campbell era. I think that's very important to kind of have that younger fan to understand like who were the Oilers and how they the transitioning from Oilers to Titans. I think that's a great idea to kind of give the younger Titans fans a history lesson on how this organization has thrived throughout the Oilers history, and now the Titans now the Titans have a history themselves, and kind of just implement that all together.
And hopefully this thing will move fast and we'll get this new stadium built and up right around the 2026 season. A lot of great possibilities. Very excited for the future, for the Titans, for the city of Nashville. It's a win for everybody. And when it'll happen, I know we'll embrace it just as much as we embrace Nissan. And I know we're going to hate to see it go, but life's about progression. We move forward. We do bigger and better things. And sometimes moving forward and growing, it helps with that transition. We don't know what'll be on the horizon, but we know the Titans could very well be moving in a new building and potentially be putting some new hardware in that building. Hopefully, if everything plays out.
Let's hope so.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining me and Ryan tonight on the show. Give yourselves a round of applause. Great comments. Great job by everybody. We're sorry for all the bugs. I'm definitely going to try and get this thing back on track. That's what happens when we go on a bye week. These things just pop up out of random. We kind of just got to go through it, but glad everything worked out. Ryan, once again, thank you for joining us on the show. Very excited for the future that you have with the Titan Upload Network, and we know you got a lot of great things planned. So I think you can give us a little bit of a sneak peek of what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you for the invite. As always, it's always an honor to be on your show. But yes, of course, you can follow me at on Twitter at Ryan Harris662. And of course, follow the Jump Pass at the Jump Pass TN. TN as abbreviated like Tennessee. And, of course, we're going to have a new episode coming up where we basically talk about the same things that we talked about on the show. Talk about Titans and Colts. Will the Titans make any moves in the trading deadline? And then I will also preview Titans and the Texans. And it will be brought to you courtesy of the Titan Upload Network.
Very proud and very happy to have Ryan with the network. He's going to do great things. We're all excited for adding him and his content onto the show. We know he's going to just blow the lid off this thing. This train's going full speed ahead, guys. The Titan Upload Network is all about progression and being there for you, the fans. And we're going to do everything we can to give you a better fan experience and to represent you the way you deserve to be represented as Titans fans. Shout out to Mom for always being on the show. Love you, mean it. Yes, Mom, I do thrive on a challenge. When life hands me lemons, I make lemon martinis. Where do I get the alcohol? That's just how damn good I am. But thank you, everybody, once again for watching the show. We'll be back next Monday. Hopefully, everything will be 100%, and we'll get this thing on track. We got a full slate of shows. We're going full steam ahead to the Super Bowl. So let's just get this thing hopefully in the right direction, and hopefully everything plays out the way it needs to. So for Ryan Harris, I'm Michael Bishop with the Power Hour. Take care. Tighten up.